So guess what day it is today? It is time to prune our Francis Rivis Clematis group category 1 today, and talking about Montana today. So category 1 blooms on old wood. So last year's growth is where these guys bloom. They're both category 1. So these are both category 1, but they're different. These guys are the very earliest bloomers. They bloom in very early spring. And this particular one is really pretty. It's one of my favorite. It's like a little nodding flower, like a bell shape. So it almost looks like columbine. So I'll just post that up and you can take a look and see the flowers on here. They're really amazing. However, you can see in here, this little guy gets very bare down below here, and he ends up looking a little top heavy. So I don't really like the way this looks. The lattice area is what I want filled in with greenery and flowers. So I am going to cut this guy back down, not all the way, but I am going to prune him back. Last year's growth on this guy is this area that you can see in here. This is the growth he put on last summer, and he hasn't been pruned in 2 years. So this would be like first year and then second year. So third year, so this is going to be all bare pretty much next spring, and it's going to bloom on whatever it fills in this summer. All these new little tendrils, that's where it would be flowering next spring. If he was really big, he would eventually grow back down and fill all this area in for next year. But because he's a smaller one, he's going to have a lot of bare in this area. So I'm going to trim it back, and then this summer it's going to start growing, and wherever it grows this summer, it'll be all nice and green in here. And next spring, early spring, we will get those flowers that we love back. So in Montana, this little guy, he's also category 1. He blooms on old wood, but he actually blooms on all the old wood and grows in on all the old wood, not just last year's, where this guy only blooms last year's, not the year before. This guy blooms on everything. And they put in, he also sends up new shoots. So it's going to be very nice and green, this whole area, and it will always flower. And this guy's big. He's going to get 20-30 feet. So he's going to start filling in, growing back down this way, growing over on the sides. You can let this guy grow however you like, and it will look good just about virtually everywhere. It's Montana Grandiflora, and it's category 1. You don't have to prune this guy at all because he looks good all the way to the ground. I'll bring you over and show you up close. And you can see he's flowering all the way down here. He's got blooms coming. So this is a very beautiful clematis also. It's a good filler. It's really big and it will fill in everywhere. And it's got really dark green leaves, which I love. So yeah, so this guy's really good too. Really like him a lot. And you don't need to prune this one at all, except to shape him or keep him smaller if you want to. But I'm not going to. I'm going to let him grab onto the lattices on the side, and I'm going to let him grow up and over and come down, and also come down the middle. So this little guy can just grow wild. I don't mind. He can get big and clamber over to his friends on the side there. He can just grow wherever he wants. But this little guy, we really want to help him out here and get him looking better, so we're going to trim him back. So that's it for category 1. So category 2 blooms on old, and if you cut them back, they will also rebloom again later in summer on the new, but not these guys. They only bloom once per season. And category 3 are different in that, again, they only bloom on new growth. So you have to cut a foot from the ground, probably in February or March, because whatever they grow up into in the spring, that's where they're going to flower. But I don't have category 3. I just wanted to let you know that in case you happen to have category 3. Don't forget, you need to prune those already before now. So in a few years, if I noticed there are some thicker ones down there that aren't putting on any growth, you can prune some of those out and get more fresh growth. So I'm gonna go get my pruners. So here's all the area where it's bare. Just gonna show you up close here. So on this particular stem right here, you can see there's like some new growth in here and here and a little bit here. So that's great. I'm gonna cut right above right in here, 1/4 inch on an angle. I'm just gonna snip that. Ready? I don't know if we caught that or not, but there it was. And I just went right in here and snipped it. So, and you can see it's already flowered. So I'm just gonna continue on. So this one, for example, right over here, also a little bit of growth. Let's see. I'm just gonna snip those flowers off and leave that. I don't know if you can see how cool that is. They just tie right around each other, these little stems here. That's how they hold on. The flowers are done, so I'm going to come all the way down that little stem and just snip. Here's some new growth here. So next year, all this bud and this new growth will all flower and it shoots out from there. Just make sure that you're pruning down to a set of buds. And I'm just gonna continue on. I'm just gonna cut that all down. It'll all be gone, but it'll all be starting to regrow for next spring. For this summer too, there'll be some nice leaves coming on there, and it will start to just work its way back up that lattice there. So I want to show you just, this is the old growth, these leaves and these old stems. So I usually just kind of get rid of those old leaves. It just doesn't look very nice. So it will come back in like at different levels. So there'll be a little bit coming back in here at this level, right in there. And then higher up, we'll have a little bit of growth up there. This little tiny one here, I'm cutting it out. Some of this, like these little dead side branches. So before you cut them down here, you want to follow, if you want to keep this one for example, you need to follow it back all the way down. Make sure you're not cutting the ones you want to keep. This little wheat guy here, I might just take a couple out all the way at the base and see if they come back a little bit stronger. And if you can't get all the dead ones out, don't worry about it. They will be really good for the new growth to grab a hold of, to pull itself up. So this one, it's really quite weak. I'm just gonna follow this one back and I'm gonna take this one right out. Yeah, it's broken anyways, so and if the bottom of it really bothers you how it looks, you can always plant something nice in here, nice and big in here, and just cover the bottom of it, and eventually this will thicken up and you'll be able to leave some of the tendrils drooping back over to cover up some of the bareness. But I like to kind of cut it back quite a bit every 2 years and just let it fill back in again. You don't need to prune either one of these at all if you don't want to, but I like to clean it up every 2 years, and well, we'll see what happens, see how it goes now. It should fill in better and look a little better next year. So just remember, if you are going to give your Alpine, your Francis Rivis, they're the Alpine Category 1, a good pruning every 2 years or however often you feel you need to, make sure you do it right after it finishes blooming. You don't want to wait later than that. So it blooms early. If you're going to prune it early as soon as it's done flowering, and that way it has the whole summer to come back nice and strong. So wherever it grows in now, this summer, you'll get blooms next spring. So yeah, so that's about it for the Francis Rivis. If you're going to prune early, right after it's done flowering. Otherwise, just let it grow wild. And thanks for popping by, and we'll catch you in the next one.